Well, everybody, we're back with another episode of the Steel Target Paint Podcast, first one of 2019. Steve, how you doing?
Jeff, I'm doing fantastic. Had a nice little vacation at the beach and did a little chilling out and a little training when I came back. How was your holiday?
It was great. Got to see the folks, and my sister came into town and still got to do some shooting and some practicing. So it was a great holiday, but getting back to work today was definitely tough.
Yeah. Hey, next week I actually have a 5-day work week. I'm not sure how I'm going to cope, but we'll see what happens.
I recommend 14 hours of sleep.
I like it.
Well, Steve, you reached out to our guest tonight, so I'm going to let you introduce him.
Everybody, we got a good one. One of the best shooters in the country, Christian Sailors. Christian, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, Steve. How are you?
Oh, great, man. Thanks for joining us tonight. I know you're out on the West Coast, so it's a little bit early for you, but we appreciate it.
Yeah, well, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited about it.
Man, I heard a rumor out there. You're a Washington Husky, aren't you?
You could probably say that. Yeah, I just finished my freshman fall quarter at the University of Washington up at the Seattle campus, and I plan on studying business there, and I'm currently an Alpha Delta pledge, so I really enjoy my time there.
Oh, good for you. Did you make it down to see the game?
I did, yeah. It was kind of a bummer. Ohio State came out real strong and whatnot, but it was a real fun time. I went down there with my mom, and really cool experience going down to the Rose Bowl for sure.
You know, I'm a Penn State grad, and so I was rooting for the Huskies, man.
Likewise, yeah, that was a bummer.
If there was one more quarter of that game, it would have been a wrap. But you guys came on pretty strong there at the end. But what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's football though, so we'll live.
Yeah, I hear you. There's always next year, right?
Exactly.
All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about your shooting career. When did you actually start shooting, Christian?
Yeah, well, it was about I was born in 2000, so it was about 2011 or 2012. A local friend on the baseball team invited me over to play with his dad's guns, and my parents thought that was an awful idea. So they were not too happy about it. So they enrolled me in a gun safety class. My brother and I went to our local range and learned a lot about gun safety and gained a huge respect for firearms and shooting in general. And saw my first competition in 2013 and had to go out and try it.
Well, that's
what
awesome.
What did you start shooting?
It was IEPA. That's what our local club offered, and started there, and the rest is history, honestly.
So you had to go out and get yourself a fishing vest or something like that? Maybe
I wore a coat. Yeah, it was a great time shooting, but I had way too many cover calls, way too many penalties and stuff. So I quickly moved on from IDPA.
That doesn't sound like the IDPA I know. Oh, Jeff, I wasn't supposed to say that word. Jeff, have you ever shot IDPA? Just out of
I have not. No,
really?
I haven't had the opportunity. We do run it at our club. I probably haven't done it like I haven't done shotgun or multi-gun or 3-gun because I would probably like it, and then it would just be more time spent shooting. So I'm staying with USPSA and steel.
Well, it's funny because actually when I started shooting, one of my first action shooting sports that I ever shot was IDPA, and I had the same exact experience. That's why I laugh. But I don't.
Everyone starts
that
in
much
USPSA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've met your dad, and he's very pragmatic, so it was a great idea to get some firearm safety, and you and your brother. So he's a very, very wise man.
Absolutely, yeah. It was great, and it kind of just snowballed from there. We went out there, took the gun safety class. We bought a .22 pistol, I think, the next day, and there's a Walther P22, and got its older brother, the Walther PPQ in 9mm, and that's why I started competing in.
So production.
Yeah, production at the time. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where most people are going to start.
Yeah,
Right.
I learned a lot about just like aligning the sights and whatnot, and it's a really good starting point. And then eventually I had to go over to open and speed up my eyes a little bit, but started there.
At
So
what
you've been
point,
shooting
Christian,
since... Oh, go
go
wait,
ahead.
stop.
Go ahead,
No,
Jeff.
take it, Steve. Go.
After me, Jeff. So, Christian, I think when I first met you, weren't you doing some SASP shooting? I know you did some rimfire challenge, NSSF. Well, what point did you start in SASP?
Yeah, so I shot that first IDPA match, and I always kept shooting IDPA, or kept shooting IDPA for about 6 months after that. But after the IDPA, went out to my first Steel Challenge match, and it was actually the last Steel Challenge match that our club was hosting because we were totally switching over just to fun steel because we had a local SASP team there that wanted to be able to run their stages. And so we had a local team about 20 minutes away from me. We had 10 or 15 kids that were really involved in SASP, and it was great for me because we practiced once or twice a week and shot, a brick or two at every practice, and we went to nationals twice. It's a great experience, and it's actually a really good kind of gateway into more competitive shooting sports.
Oh, cool deal. Cool deal.
So, Christian, you started out IDPA, shooting a production gun, moved over to USPSA. How long have you been shooting open?
So I started shooting open in 2016, or the end of 2016. So I just had a couple months in 2016. And 2017 was my first open season. And it was an okay season. But it wasn't really until 2018 where I really started to get the hang of open. And open's a really funny division because I wouldn't say it at a high level. In production division at a high level, you can't make mistakes clearly. But I think at local matches, it's more evident that if you have a jam or even a small, misplacing of your footing and whatnot, you lose the stage. And so open is really tricky for me to master. And so it wasn't until 2018 where I really started to get the hang of it.
Excellent. Well, for those of you that don't know, at the Open Nationals this year, Christian was third overall, behind the winner, J.J. Racaza, and second place, Casey Eusebio. And I'm pretty sure you're only about 15 points behind KC as I looked at it. So they say there's no natural shooting gene, but what is it? Training? What was it that allowed you to excel to that level in such a short period of time?
Yeah, so one of the biggest things with shooting is why I like USPSA in general is it combines shooting skill and natural athleticism. And so for me, growing up playing baseball, I played baseball all throughout high school at a really high level. Played summer ball and whatnot. So I have a lot of baseball underneath my belt, and I used to be a middle infielder, and then I became a pitcher for high school. And that footwork helps a lot, and that natural athleticism has helped me a lot. I'm really blessed with those genetics. I don't think there's really a shooting gene, but if there's a focus gene, that would help a lot. But the athleticism is a big part of it. Being able to move and shoot is really important. And but the biggest thing this year, between 2017 and 2018, was my mental aspect and controlling that. And there's really two parts to it. The stage prep totally changed this year. And the way that I conducted myself in a match and my mentality completely changed.
Well, let's walk through that a little bit. Let's talk about let's break down each one of those, if you would. Let's do the stage prep one first, because I don't shoot a lot of USPSA. I've shot a little bit of it, but, I focus more on Steel Challenge and all that kind of jazz. Walk me through what your stage prep is.
Absolutely. So I always like to get to the match at least a day before. I was not blessed with that at this Nationals. I actually showed up the night before. The range was closing, so I showed up real early the next day and tried to get some stage walking underneath my belt before shooting. But it all starts the day before, and the biggest thing is just first, you have to know where every single target is. When I get to a stage, I'll go behind the stage and make sure that I see every target. And I'll explain later why that's so important. It cost me a lot of points, actually, at the Nationals. But you got to make sure you see all the targets and count all the targets. That's the most important thing. Because if you, later on in the stage, if you have a mistake or something, you lose count or something like that, you'll need to know where all the targets are and be able to adjust. But so I go up to a stage. I know where all the targets are. I read the stage briefing. I know where my hands are going to start and whatnot. And I go up there, and I have my stage plan. I make my stage plan, which it's hard to explain exactly how to find the stage plan. But first, you have to know all the targets. know the capacity of your gun. That's a lot more difficult to learn. That's something that I've improved upon just naturally in shooting more stages and having more challenges to face. But the biggest thing is once you have that stage plan is the visualization that follows. And so it takes really intense focus, but if you go over that stage a million times in your head, I mean, you hear that all the time, right? Go over the stage a million times in your head. And everyone says that, but I really just don't think that they are you're doing it a million times in your head. And this year I actually started doing it a million times in my head because before I shot a stage, I'd make sure that I was able to go behind the line, close my eyes, look at the ground, and be able to see every single blade of grass, every single rock, every stick. And so that was one of the biggest things, is just knowing the stage in far more detail. That was one part of the stage prep that was really important. And kind of along the same line is knowing where to aim. It sounds so stupid, right? Shoot the target, shoot the A's as fast as possible. It's really simple, but when training with some of my friends and stuff, you'll see, an inch group in the Charlie zone. It's like, were you aiming at the Charlie zone? It's like, oh no. It's like, well, where were you aiming? It's like, oh, the target. No, you have to go focus and in your run through, not only just go through the stage, but go through every single sight picture. And when you start to break down the stage to more fine details, that's when you start to shoot better and become more of a shooting computer. You collect all this data before, wherever, bladed grass, I joke about that, but where all the targets are, your stage plan, you have all this fine detail, and eventually you need to plug that into your computer, which is your brain, and execute on that stage plan. So that's the big stage prep thing for me.
Excellent.
That's
so
great.
I do shoot a lot of USPSA as well.
Mm-hmm.
Focusing now on the PCC world, are you aiming top third of the A zone, center of the A zone? Are you aiming at the, do you think you see the A and actually aiming there? What's your aim point?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it really depends on the stage. One of the biggest things that, another thing, it's funny you mentioned that. I never heard of USPSA math until like 6 months ago. And a couple times I'd be like, well, I don't know. Do I want to shoot the A and shoot a little bit slower? Or do I want to just go over to that target and stay away from the hard cover and shoot Charlies or an Alpha Charlie maybe? And so using USPSA math is really important. You have to estimate I'm not really great at it yet, but you estimate your hit factor, and then you take your points and how long you think it's going to take to shoot A's versus Charlies and kind of add it up and see what's going to be best. But a general rule of thumb for majors, you want to shoot away from the hard cover because you just want to shoot away from hard cover. It's obviously dangerous. In production, you want to shoot more A's because it's minor. Carry optics and PCC for that matter. But it really depends on the stage. It depends on the hard cover, how confident I'm feeling on that stage, the distance, and whatnot. So it really depends on the target. There's no just one-size-fits-all answer for that. But you have to look at the stage and assess it, one stage at a time.
Well, here's an interesting thing I was told by Shannon Smith. If you take your hit factor and you flip it upside down, so you do 1 over your hit factor. So let's, for sake of argument, say you had a hit factor of 5.
Okay.
So 1 over 5 is 0.2. Each point is worth 0.2 seconds how you shot it.
Right.
So if you'd have taken 0.2 seconds in major and gone from a Charlie to an Alpha, you'd have the same exact hit factor. But if you could have done that in 0.15, you'd have gotten a better hit factor.
That was the math I was looking for there. Yeah.
Well, I'm kind of a nerd as well, so that kind of stuff jazzes me. So, and so you're shooting open. You're shooting 38 Super or 9 Major.
I'm shooting 38 Super Comp. I'm shooting an Akai custom race gun, and I couldn't be more happier with the way it performs.
Excellent.
Yeah. But the second part there, I was continuing on the mental aspect. Talked about kind of the stage prep there, but the biggest thing besides the stage prep obviously helped a lot this year, but the mental aspect is just so overlooked. And just a quick example, I went to the Florida Open in 2017. First stage was this big long range stage. I pulled a gun out of the holster, and I know that I can shoot that target, but for some reason, big match, just was not confident, not as confident as I should have been. I put 4 shots on this 50-yard paper. It was ridiculous. And so the biggest change this year was, the first stage that I had some pretty far targets, whipped the gun out of the holster, 2 shots, and I knew that they were there. So confidence is a big thing for your mental aspect. and really having no reservations. I mean, you guys both compete at a high level as well, and going to the nationals and stuff. Aren't you guys also experiencing some of the jitters and things like that? And if you experience that as well, it's really interesting to figure out how you can overcome that and think about what it's going to take to be able to be more confident in that situation.
Yeah, Christian, I think that's a great point and a great call out. And one of the strategies that I employ and I teach people, like when you're shooting Steel Challenge, you don't go up there and try to, if you're shooting Smoke and Hope and you're 100%, maybe 1.6 seconds in PCCO, and don't get up there and try to shoot a 155, because especially if it's cold and you're starting on Smoke and Hope, go up there and shoot an 85%. For me, that's maybe like a 1.8 or 1.85, because I think even the best of us in those situations, there's a little bit of butterflies, but you get a good one, rip one, it's like, oh yeah, here we go. Just like riding a bike, and then dial that baby up a little bit and then shoot you a 155 and a one, whatever that threshold is for you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here's a point too that I've been talking with a bunch of guys at the range about, and that's, you look at football, basketball, baseball, you warm up. Now at nationals, they had a hot bay, so you could go and you could put some rounds down range. But most matches, you don't get that hot bay opportunity. Do you have any kind of preparation right before your first stage? Are you jumping jacks or push-ups or anything like that? To get those juices flowing, or are you just ready and you get up there and you're ready for the beep?
It's funny you mentioned that, because nationals is kind of interesting for me, because I actually picked up the gun in a week, and I was at the University of Washington. I had midterms, and so I just flew down there, and I needed to get ready for the match. And usually I come prepared, ready to go, but it helps so much to get warmed up in the morning. I get out of a hot shower, I stretch, make sure my hamstrings are loose. I don't want to be hobbling around the rest of the day if I pull it on my first stage. So I get loose, I get my arms loose, get my back loose. I go through my baseball warm-ups and just get ready to go and get your body in an athletic state. That's one of the biggest things, get your body ready, get your mind right. And then I like to go to the dry fire table, like to, do some draws, pick up the dot. I mean, the biggest thing in open is seeing your dot and seeing things quickly. So be able to grab the gun out of the holster, see the dot. That's really important. So that's kind of my preparation beforehand. And then mentally just get into the mode that I'm here to win, I'm here to shoot, and be confident.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And I'll just continue on that last note there, the mental aspect, the confidence thing. We talk about, once you get in that groove, but one of the biggest things is when you get out of that groove, what are you supposed to do? And at Area 3 this year, one of the ROs called a barrel strike on me that I really didn't agree with. And so I lost 40 points there, or 30, 40 points there. It was really frustrating. And one of the biggest things is just taking it one shot at a time and be able to flush things. I was really frustrated. I kept blaming the arrow in my head, of course. You have to keep a level of professionalism. But I was really, really disappointed in that stage. And I went over to the next stage, and I just realized that I had to stop. I had to get out of this excuse mindset. And as soon as you stop feeling sorry for yourself, that's the moment when you'll excel and keep getting better. I was discussing earlier about knowing where all the targets are. I was the first on the stage. I really just didn't have my mind right, and I forgot a target, lost 40 points instantly. It was, 2 alphas that weren't there, 10-point penalty. It was things were looking pretty grim. I lost 40 points, and I realized in my head that national championships are separated by 10 or 15 points. I just lost 40. I was really sad. I came all down this way, and I lost 40 points, and just like that. I was really frustrated, but I gave myself the time from my last shot on that stage, or the last scoring on that stage, to the start of the next stage before I started my walkthrough to get over that. And so as soon as you stop blaming things on, the sun was in my eyes, I was the first person on the stage, as soon as you stop making those excuses and just control what you can control and taking it one shot at a time, that's when we really, really excel.
Good tip. Good tip.
Yeah.
So with USPSA, go ahead, Steve. You take it.
No, I was just going to back up for two separate things.
Mhm.
First of all, congratulations on that finish. I mean, Christian, there's a lot of I don't shoot a lot of USPSA, but even I know every single name in the top 15 on that list. And I would say, because you're over in Washington, there's a lot of shooting that
Mhm.
happens across the country, but there's a lot that
Mhm.
happens in the Southeast. I would be willing to bet that until you won, how many area matches did you win this year? Was it 3?
I won 2, and then I was second behind Cody at Area 5. That was my first one of the
Okay.
year.
And so I think that a lot of people in USPSA may not have, at least at the highest level, may not have known who you are. And so
Mhm.
I think that in a 12-month span of time, you went from being a really, really great shooter that some people knew who you are to number 3, in the country. That is just a huge accomplishment. So I just wanted to say congratulations, and that's an exceptional feat that, you were well prepared for it, and you just had a plan and executed, so congratulations.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. And one of the things that I've kind of learned through the Nationals experience is, just staying humble is the biggest thing in the sport, in any sport, and in life in general. And so, um, you know, when I look back at myself 2, 3 years ago, and I thought I had it figured out, at 16, and I really didn't. And it's really important at this stage in time to realize that I still don't have it figured out, and I still need to keep learning. And I'll forever be a student of the game, and I look forward to improving on it next year.
Okay,
And,
Steve,
and be,
he's 18. Okay, he's
Jeff,
three
I was
times
waiting.
younger than I am, and
When he said
he's
he was
saying
born
stuff that
in
I say because I still haven't figured it out, Christian.
Yeah, I will never have it
Jeff, when
figured
he
out.
said he was born in 2000, I've got my cell phone next to me. I was waiting for you to text me with something that we can't say over the air. But
You
to
know,
that point, though, in order to
Mhm.
be really good at what you do have to be a student, whether that's in the shooting world or your personal life or your professional
Mhm.
life. Being open to learning. I know it's helped me significantly. So that's a great call out. I do want to back up to a little bit of
Mhm.
your SASP or Steel Challenge time.
Mhm.
At what point did you really turn the corner? Like, you know what? Hey, dad, brother, friend,
Mhm.
I'm pretty good at this. At what point did that happen for you?
Mhm. Well, I've never really just felt like I've had it all together. Shooting there's a lot of ups and downs, but I would say that after my first year of SASP, I lost to one of the people we compete against a lot, Ethan in the condo at my first nationals by
Ethan.
0.16 seconds. It was ridiculous. I made so many mistakes and I lost by such a little margin. It was really disappointing, but at that point, I said that this is something I really want to devote a lot of time to, and this is something that I want to excel at. And so I started putting the work, and I was so young at that. I was 15, I think. And so I was just ready to keep improving. And I think it was, after my first year open, I realized that I made huge gains over that year by shooting open. I was so happy to switch to open. 2017 finish, I really wasn't that satisfied yet. I really didn't think I was at the level that I should have been at that time with the training I was doing. And then it hit me at 2018, Area 1, I believe it was at. I placed 7th or 8th at Area 1 in Missoula, and I really just was not happy with my performance. And that's when I said, okay, this is still something that I really want to excel at. How am I going to get better? I started looking at more YouTube videos, reading more things, and that's when I hit that turning point going to Area 5. That's the only turning point that I can really think of with my
Okay.
shooting career.
so
Let's talk.
have
Go
you
ahead,
done
Jeff.
any training? Have you done any training with any cool? I'm doing air quotes right now. Professionals or taken any classes?
Mhm. I haven't taken any classes, but I've been really fortunate to live in an area with some top-level GMs, and we're part of a little shooting group called Down Zero. We practice at our local indoor range. We rent out this big bay, and I usually have 7 or 8 guys come out and practice. And I've been really fortunate to have Zach Campbell and Andrew Hong. Those are my 2 shooting coaches, and they've been able to help me progress and get a lot better at the sport. And they're very knowledgeable people, and so they can instantly see what I'm doing wrong, and hey, you got to do this, this, and that. And Zach's helped me a lot this last year with my mental game, and not all the things that I say have come from me. I've been taking bits and pieces from different shooters, and Zach's one of the shooters that I've taken a lot of information from.
Excellent.
So we've talked a little bit on the phone and in person. We talked a
Mm-hmm.
little bit about training, and you and I
Mm-hmm.
talked a little bit about your draw and how many rounds actually you shoot for a year. Can you kind of enlighten folks? How many rounds do you actually put down in downrange in the last 12 months? And then, how do you supplement that with your, live fire and dry
Mm-hmm.
fire regimen?
Yeah, so I'll go back to the 2018 season. That was the biggest shooting year I've had yet. I shot probably 16 or 17,000 rounds that year. I've been used to shooting about 10,000 rounds, like 2016, 2017, about 10,000, and 18 was the most shooting I've done, 15, 16,000. It's kind of hard to keep track. You're just loading all the time and stuff, so I try to keep track of it, but about 16,000, and I've definitely changed my practice schedule in the past year because 2018 was a year when during the summer I had my business internship and whatnot during the day, but 2-3 times a week I'd be out on the range shooting 200 rounds and practicing Steel Challenge, practicing USPSA, but a lot has changed in the past 6 months now going to school.
You doing much dry fire?
Yeah, dry fire is so big. One of the biggest things with dry fire and open specifically, I mean, iron sights will help a lot, of course, too. But with the open division, the biggest thing is picking up that dot and be able to see things really fast. I mean, the open division, everything happens so quickly. If you draw that gun out and the dot's not in the center of the window there, you're having issues. So especially with open division, dry fire is important to be able to center that dot in the window from a draw, from a reload, and really be familiar with your gun. So during the summer, I mean, if I was not shooting, I was probably dry firing because I see immense value in dry fire. I mean, besides the actual shooting part, it's really hard to replicate that, obviously. But as far as draws, reloads, unloaded starts, that's for USPSA. You gain a lot of that through dry fire, and then for Steel Challenge, getting that first shot up, transitioning with your hips is really important too. Those are that's the value that I see in dry fire, those skills specifically, but you do have to get on the range and get that recoil impulse and more transitioning and stuff.
Well, I just made a post the other day, challenge to everyone out there. If you just took 10 minutes a day, you're probably going to get about 30 draws. And by the end of the year, you'll be over 10,000 draws.
Oh, that's ridiculous. Yeah.
And I mean, I did the math and I went, that's like, I mean, if you were a Steel Challenge shooter shooting a centerfire gun, that's like over 50 matches of draws.
Oh,
but all you're doing is 10 minutes a day.
Yeah. If everyone spent 10 minutes a day dry firing, they'd be an immensely better shooter. And one of the biggest things for Steel Challenge, moving a little bit away from USPSA here, the biggest thing of Steel Challenge, or one of the biggest things, is the draw. And Steve and I were talking about this the other day, and one of the biggest things that I see as a disadvantage in Steel is the fact that Max, KC, and BJ can draw their gun like no one else can. I mean, they're drawing in speeds that I could only dream of drawing in. But then when you take my shooting, Max's shooting, KC's, and BJ's shooting, and you overlap the actual shooting part, it's very, very similar. So I'm starting to see far more importance in the draw. If I'm shooting at the same cadence of them, where am I losing this time? And I figured out that a big chunk of time can be saved in the draw. And so I've been home over Christmas break for the past 3 weeks, and every single day I've been drawing my gun with a timer, press a timer, random, and just draw 100, 200 times, and basically until I get bored, which is quite hard with shooting.
Well, 2018 was definitely good to you. I did go back and look at what we all call the nationals, but it's the U.S. Steel Shoot, and you were 5th. And again, that's no slouch. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. Yeah, the U.S. Steel Nationals was a really fun match for me. I got to shoot my open gun, my rimfire pistol iron gun, and my rimfire pistol open gun until my rifle went. I also shot rifle, which Steve Foster was so nice and came over and said, "Oh, my rifle, some little part broke in it," and handed me my rifle. Which thank you again for that. That was super nice. But
not a problem, brother.
Yeah, always helping each other out. That's one of the big things I love about shooting is everyone's always helping each other out, and I love that. But back to nationals, it was a great match, a great match for me. I love shooting the open division, and I look back at it now, though, and I just keep cringing at some of my draws and whatnot. And it's funny. That match was like 6 months, maybe not 6 months ago. It was, almost a year ago. But that's one of the biggest things is looking back and seeing my footage and just seeing how I can improve. But it was a great match. I absolutely loved it. And I'm trying to go back again this year.
Well, I know Steve and I are going to be there. We're looking forward to seeing you.
Absolutely. I just squatting just opened, so I'll see you down there for sure.
Sweet. We talked about the draw a little bit, and just to reinforce the point that you made, if Max has got a draw on a .8 and you're coming out of the holster at 1 second flat on like a speed option, I mean, over the course of the match, that's 6 seconds or so, and it's exciting to hear that that's all you need to work on. And I don't mean that in a flippant kind of way, because it's a pretty big deal. I mean, we talked to Max here, I don't know, a month or two ago, and he was talking about his time at the AMU, and he shot over 200,000 rounds in a year. And, for the average shooter, sitting here listening, you say, oh, yeah, I shot 20,000. So, it's like, that's about 10 years of my life. He did it in a year. And so, you're very proficient at it. And I got all the confidence in the world with your training regimen that you're going to get there. It may not be in a month or two, but it could be in 6 or 12 for sure. But that is the only thing holding you back in steel for being number one.
Too. Yeah, the shooting can definitely improve as well. I'm still not. I was at the range the other day and still making big moves with my steel challenge shooting and transitioning and whatnot. But the draw is just so important, and that's one of the big disadvantages that I see with my steel challenge shooting is that those three guys in particular have so much experience and so much really just experience on me shooting those stages and whatnot. And so I'm just trying to shoot as much steel as I can this year and really focus a lot more on that. Because I really think my time shooting SASP really helped me with my USPSA game with transitioning and just overall shooting. You shoot a lot of rounds. 22 is a lot cheaper than a 9mm or 38 Cuber comp. So I see a lot of value in that transitioning over to other shooting sports as well.
Hey, Jeff, can I tell you a quick story?
Absolutely.
So I think Christian and I were at, I think it was at the U.S. Steel shoot, and Christian's dad was there, and we're talking about the prize table and all that kind of stuff at the end of the match. And we started talking about open guns and asked him what he was shooting. He said, oh, well, I've got Shea Akai, you know who he is? And I said, well, I know who he is. And a couple of our fellow teammates, Tom and Joel, shoot Akai guns. And, I've heard a lot of great things about him. He said, well, I'm getting one built. And then I did a little looking around on social media, and I looked at Akai's website, and he's got this this program.
Oh yeah, the contingency program.
The contingency program. And I sat there and thought to myself, I looked at the computer and I just started laughing out loud. And my wife walked in. She said, Steve, what are you laughing at? I said, oh no, Christian Saylor's got an Akai gun. See this contingency program? Oh man, this Shea Akai, he's gonna have to buy Christian a boat or a house or a truck or something like that, because this guy's going to be wearing it out. So let's talk a little bit about sponsorship. Who are your sponsors, Christian?
So I have 3 sponsors right now. I've been with all these companies for a while now, and really grateful for Rainier Ballistics, Akai, Akai Custom Guns, and Tactical Solutions for their support this season.
Great. Well, what gun did you shoot in U.S. Nationals? What did you shoot an Akai gun?
U.S. Steel Nationals, I just have, it's built by a couple different people, but kind of just a put together steel gun. So I'm looking forward to getting a new steel gun, but it was just a custom 2011. Nothing really special about it. But the real special thing that I have actually sitting in front of me is my Akai Custom 2011 open gun. And the biggest change, besides the whole mental aspect, but the biggest change this year was my pistol, of course. And I can confidently say that as soon as I got this pistol, I increased my shooting skill by at least 5%. I mean, it is one thing to say, Michael Jordan wasn't good because of his Jordans. Go out, buy Michael Jordan shoes. But this gun is really something special. I absolutely love it. I mean, just, numbers. I went to the Oregon Open and beat the Area 1 champion by just a small margin, where he beat me by 15%. not 2 or 3 months earlier. So,
Wow.
the only thing that changed in that time was the gun. So, not saying anything, but the gun is absolutely amazing, and I couldn't be happier with it.
Well, Christian, Steve and I have talked at length about this, and you can't buy your game. I mean, you've clearly put in the work. But once you've put in the work and you get to a level, then, having the confidence in your gun is huge. Knowing that gun is going to perform every time. Every, pull the trigger, the gun's going to go bang. You're going to get magazines feeding correctly. That's a mental aspect that you don't have to worry about. And so that's where, that top of the line gun like an Akai is going to come into play. I said to Steve, I said, if you put take for instance, Steel Challenge, if you put a stock 2245 in Max's hands, he'd probably do just about as well as long as it ran the whole day. And that's a key. I mean, a number of people have had, have been right there in the throes of winning a match, and then they have a magazine failure, or they have a feed issue, or, a stovepipe or something of that nature, and the match is lost because of the equipment.
Yeah, that's when I chose an open gun, I was thinking about I was making a list of what I wanted on an open gun and all the different parts and the grips and everything I wanted. And then I just realized that the only 3 things that I really want on the gun was reliability, and reliability. And so when I'm looking at it, that's the biggest thing with the gun. If the gun doesn't fire, how can you shoot well? You just can't. And so I realized that I just wanted a really reliable gun built by a reputable builder, which Shea is, and I just absolutely love the gun that I got. And the gun is never jammed. All my match videos are up online, and you can go watch it. The gun never jams. It always shoots. Shoots every bullet I put through it, and I'm really happy with the results with the reliability. But I also realized that everything else is just bells and whistles after it. But the bells and whistles are really important. And I have this gun. Every spec that I have on it is the spec that I really like, and I have different reasons for using different grips, different triggers, and everything like that. But I've just been really happy with all the bells and whistles, as they say. And I have not seen a gun shoot as flat as this gun. You guys see that slow-mo video I posted on Instagram?
I did not.
Oh, okay. I'll have to send it over to you. But
okay. Yeah, I'm over the age of 50, so I don't use Instagram.
I'll make sure to put it on Facebook then too for you. All right.
I'm still on MySpace, so see if you can.
Pretty sure they shut that down, but it's still up there. I'll get an account soon.
No, Facebook would be fine. I'd appreciate that.
Gotcha.
Christian, could you walk us through the specs of your Akai gun? Because I've heard a lot of discussion, Tom and Fish and those guys are like, man, it's a flat shooting gun and this and that. And then after that discussion, it's, well, what grip do you like? Well, I like the Evo. I like this. I like that. So could you walk all of us through what your specs are on your gun and trigger and grip and all that kind of jazz for us?
Yeah, absolutely. It's very convenient that I have it right in front of me. But we'll start from the bottom here. We got a really big Dawsonite magwell on it. It's connected to a PT grip, which I'm really liking. I joke that you don't actually grip the gun grips you, and I would totally agree with that because, once you haven't shot in a week, you'll pick up the gun, your hands are almost bleeding. That's how aggressive it is. And as much as it's sometimes uncomfortable, I really like the way that it fits in my hand, and really like the way that it shoots with the grip on it because it adds weight to the back of the gun. One of the biggest things with a gun is having a really balanced gun, and so putting some weight in the back here really helps a lot with that, and helps minimize recoil from having a really sturdy weight there at the back of the gun. I have
is it a stainless Evo?
It is, yeah. It's a stainless Evo.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
Perfect. And then as far as triggers go, I have a medium length trigger in there. It's from SVI. I really like the way that feels. Real crisp trigger that Shea puts in there. They'll build it however you ask, but I have about 1.5 to 2 pound trigger in there. It's real light, but really like the way that it shoots and the performance I get with it. And I feel that a shorter trigger, they make short, medium, and long. The short one's a little too short. The long one's a little bit too long, and I like the way the medium feels with my hands. I run a gas pedal on the side there. It's in the perfect spot to help mitigate any recoil. There's no recoil on this gun, but theoretically, if there was some, it's there to minimize it. I have a shielded safety. My thumbs sometimes get in the way there, so I have that on the left side. Got a nice backer on there, Leupold Delta Point Pro. And then moving to the end of the gun, that's when you really start to see the technology. I currently use an old style compensator. There's two different types of compensators, an old and a new style. Really like the way that the old style tracks for me. It's a V4, so we got, which you guys can see a picture here, but I have 3 popple holes on top and then 2 holes on both other sides of the slide. And then internally, we have a tungsten sleeve barrel, and that's something that I love to talk to Shay about because he knows far more than I do about the technology in the gun, but the tungsten is something that I do understand. Having that sleeve barrel and that weight there just feels so nice in the gun, and it just balances out the gun, and I was really scared about putting a tungsten in it, in fact, but I'm really, really, really happy with the way that it turned out, and I honestly just could not ask for a better gun to shoot.
So what was it when you say you were scared? You were thinking it was going to be too heavy?
Yeah, I thought the gun would just be way too heavy. I mean, I was like, oh, we already have the PT grip on it and all that stuff, but I like the weight there. I mean, the gun just shoots so flat. I've never had any issues transitioning the gun, and it's just so flat, so reliable, so accurate. I love it. And I think one of the big things that's really nice about this gun too is having that titanium compensator on the end, and so it makes the gun feel a little bit shorter. I have a midi length gun, and it's just super flat. I just love the gun.
Is it a 5-inch? Is it a 5-inch barrel or?
A little more detail than I know, but I think it is. It's a midi length, a shortened midi, in fact. Yeah.
So back to your
ahead,
trigger.
Steve.
Is it flat or is it curved?
I have a flat one on it. I've been trying out the flat one this year, and I really like the way that feels. I feel like it's almost a more reliable feel. Sometimes I can get the curved one at a weird angle, and the straight one's just straight all up and down. So I really like it.
Yeah, that's the exact trigger I run in my Carolina Arms Group 1911, and I love it. What about your dot? What MOA are you shooting?
They only come in a 2.5, and I think it's 7 or 8 or 9 or something like that. So it's the smaller one. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Leupold only makes 2 right now. One's the big triangle and one's the smaller dot. I use a smaller dot on there.
Okay, cool.
And on your gas pedal, are you in the classic grip or have you adopted the opposable grip? Which the classic one is where your thumb is very forward down the frame. The opposable where they're both more almost vertical.
Yeah.
My thumb, it just rides the gas pedal naturally. I wouldn't say that's too far down. I'm putting my hands on it right now to see, but I just put my thumb right on top of that gas pedal there. But as far as grip goes, one of the things that I have adjusted this year, a little bit in the off season, was relaxing my right hand a lot more, and then just really squeezing hard with my left hand. And so I got a lot more dexterity in my trigger finger this year.
Excellent. So let me jump back to Steel Challenge for a second. I was working the World Shoot. You were out there. You came right up, shook my hand, and we'd met at a couple of matches before. I've seen you down here in Florida at Universal. But getting into back to Steel Challenge, and we've asked this of Max. What's your favorite stage?
My favorite stage, I would have to say 5 to go. I have a lot of range restrictions at my current range, and so 5 to go is really the only one that I can practice with distance and stuff. It's only like big stage that we can set up, and I practice it a lot, and I really think that stage is kind of it really tests everything that the shooter has, the transitions, the varying distances, not much with size, of course, but the distances and whatnot, and I think it's a big stage that I can capitalize on in my shooting style. Being conservative on it, but yet still pushing the pace and being able to feel a really good rhythm. That's what I really like about 5 to go.
Okay. Now, conversely, what's your least favorite stage?
Well, I've gone back and forth on this a little bit. I used to think that Smoke and Hope is my least favorite stage because I just could not keep up with the draw and whatnot. They're drawing like 0.8 or something crazy like that. But I've actually learned to love Smoke and Hope, and it's more of an art to me now than just some wild stage like everyone thinks. But I would have to say Showdown because I can never practice that stage. None of the local ranges, I can drive 2 hours and we can't really set it up. So I don't get to practice it, and one of my biggest gripes with Steel Challenge is that I just don't get to shoot it very much. It's only about 2-3 weeks. When I get 2-3 weeks away from the big match, I'll go drive over to Eastern Washington and set up some steel plates and stuff at a range that will actually support the stages and go practice it. So it's really hard to get steel time in, which is really frustrating because steel is so much fun. But I get it in as much as I can.
Great. Thanks for that.
Christian, I want to go back to a little bit more about your gear and load and that kind of stuff because, placing in the top 3 at USPSA Nationals, the Open, everybody's got to know. So what are you running as a holster?
I'm running the Double Alpha X holster. I just fallen in love with that holster. It is just so smooth to draw out of and just so clean. First off, the holster looks really nice. It's such an upgrade from any other holsters out there. It looks really nice, and it's really nice to travel with as well. I just take it off the little hanger there, and it collapses down really nicely. But as far as performance goes, I really like the way that it works with my guns. I have a PT insert and also an STI insert, and I switch it out really easily, and the draw from it's really smooth and consistent.
No, that's cool. I just started shooting open in Steel Challenge here a few months back, and I won't shame the brand that I was using, but I did move to the same exact holster that you're using, and my draws got 0.2 better just by changing the holster. And the level of adjustability was crazy. So I'm actually heading this weekend to shoot all 13 divisions, or the final couple of divisions to get classified in all 13 divisions. And so it was really cool to spend $50 from Double Alpha to get a Smith & Wesson 929 insert that slid right in the holster. So I didn't have to spend, $100 to $200 on a new holster. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
so
that's sweet.
Let's talk a little bit about your load. Rainier makes fantastic bullets. Can you walk us through what grain, weight, bullet that you're using and what load you're using?
Yeah, of course. So I have the Rainier Ballistics 124 double-plated bullets. I can't stop saying that thing's good about Rainier Ballistics. They make all the bullets you'd ever want out there, all different weights and whatnot, and really like the 124 grain bullet. I use 10.2 Vitabury 3 and 3/8, and I load it at 1.24, and it's just real nice and soft. It's pretty crazy loading it though. You have to load it really slowly because there's so much powder in the actual case. The whole case is practically filled up with it, but just put my little 124 Rainier Ballistics bullet on top and load in the gun. It works perfectly.
So what, you said you're loading it at 1.24?
Yeah.
Wow, that's long.
Yeah.
I've got an open gun and I shot some 9 major, and now I've just used it for Steel Challenge. So I've downgraded the spring and just shooting shooting a minor load. But I was loading at like 1165. So that's a long bullet you're shooting.
Yeah, I just leave all the load data up to Shay and my dad, whatever we figure out. But it was super easy. You got the gun from Shay and just PM'd him. I'm looking for my PMs to find the length. It looks like it's 1.24. But, yeah, I just asked him the length, and he already had, load set up for it, and it was just perfect.
Beautiful. Well, that's nice when you can do that, where you've got a guy that's, able to help you out with that as much too. Because, I spent months trying to come up with the right load. Trying different things and changing compensators and all that before it finally dialed it in.
Yeah, Shay just has it figured out. I mean, he has the perfect recipe for an open gun, not just the loads, but he has the recipe figured out to make a reliable and soft and flat gun. So it's just perfect getting gun from him.
Super. Well, Steve and I love to give out tips and all that, and you've given us a lot of good information here, but if you were just going to, put you on the spot,
okay,
what's the best tip you can tell our listeners?
Well, I was thinking about this earlier, and I broke it down from a match tip and a practice tip.
Perfect.
I talked about the match tips with the stage prep and the visualization. So I think my tip would definitely be in practice. And so one of the biggest things in practice that I focus on that Zach and Zach Campbell and Andrew Hong have taught me is try to push the pace in practice and train your eyes to see things quicker. It's really important in all divisions that you shoot, but specifically in the open division because it just goes so fast. is train your eyes to see things quicker and be able to adapt to that fast-paced environment of shooting open. And so in my training, I set up a stage that you can shoot for USPSA. I set up a stage that you can shoot, 6 or 8 different ways, different draws, different movements, start here, start up range, whatever. And I shoot it twice the same way, and I shoot it 2 other different ways. And on my first way, first time shooting the stage, I shoot it not conservative, but, match pace. And then the second time, I pushed my pace and try to see things a lot faster. And so that's the biggest thing when practicing is trying to push that pace and see things quicker. And then kind of along that I feel like this tip's, big, but the tip is just how to practice better and more efficiently. And the biggest thing is pushing that pace and then focusing on something on every single run. Focus on one thing. Say, okay, my draw was bad. I didn't shoot this target this specific way. So focus on one thing every single run. And as soon as you think that you have everything figured out, you don't. And so go back and look at what you did. So the best way for me is visual analysis. And so take videos, get some software you can overlay the videos and look at them and show it to your friends. I mean, I get videos all the time. People PM me, say, hey, can you look at this? Of course. I mean, so if you guys ever have anything you want to send me to look at or anything, I may send you guys some videos and see if you realize anything in my shooting. So visual analysis and pushing the pace would be my 2 tips.
Fantastic. Well, Steve, we got a lot of information here. How you doing?
No, it's been very educational. I appreciate your time tonight with us, Christian. Great
Absolutely.
information. I know our listeners appreciate it as well.
Yeah,
fantastic.
Well, thanks so much for having me, guys.
Yeah. Glad you're here. Hopefully see you at US Steel and the other matches going forward.
Absolutely. Well, thanks so much, guys.
All right. Thanks, Christian.
All right. Thank you.